My name is John Harbuck. I'm president of Strike 10 Entertainment. We're pleased to have Miller Coors as our official beer partner of the bowling industry. And we signed a multi-year, multi-brand deal with Miller Coors this year. We're very pleased to have a distinguished group of folks that have attended Bowl Expo, and they're going to give this presentation today. Miller Coors brews, markets, and sells the Miller Coors portfolio of brands in the U.S. and Puerto Rico. Miller Coors is the second largest beer company in America, capturing nearly 30% of U.S. beer sales, led by two of the best-selling beers in the industry, Coors Light and Miller Lite. Now, we have with us John Beck, who's Vice President of National Accounts on-premise, and we have Donna Carpenter, who's the National Account Executive. Many of you may know Donna. She's been with the industry and presented a number of times. We have Matt Dykstra also with us here with Miller Coors, and we thank them for attending. I want to introduce Myron Myers. We've created a new position at Strike 10 in the BPAA. Myron is our trade brewer. His job is to be the liaison between the distributor networks and the proprietor. That's an area that we feel that we can get better at, and so Myron is charged with that task, and he's going to be engaging you at the state level and the local level, developing relationships with the proprietors as well as the distributors. So we're very excited about this partnership. We're glad that you guys attended. You're going to get a lot out of this seminar. So at this point, I'll turn it over to you, John. John Beck. Give John a hand.
Good morning. Welcome to Vegas. How many people are winning? Everybody else paying the debt service on for Caesars Entertainment? Huh? That's it? We have one hand up as a winner. There's two, there's three, four. I always like, you get on the airplane when you leave Vegas, right? And you know, how'd you do? You win and everybody's up, right? And then you look up and down the strip, you look at Bellagio and the Wynn and Caesars. You think they pay for those buildings by people winning, leaving with money out of Vegas, right? You check out the airport, right? Everybody gets a couple of thank yous, right? And then I'll kick it off. First off, John Harbuck, Frank DeSozio, BPAA, and Strike 10. Thank you for the opportunity to be engaged on a long-term, multi-year partnership with the bowling industry and the Bowling Proprietors Association of America. We take great pride, and we take great responsibility, and we have a great commitment to grow the value of the bowling industry and hopefully get our little bit of fair share of that growth, right, through your beer sales. Number two, thank you, right? Y'all took some time out of your calendars to sit, participate, and engage in our workshop today. Donna and Myron are going to take you through about 8 hours of our philosophy on how to grow the beer category, right? And they're going to do it in 45 minutes. So it's going to be very high level. There's going to be some things that hopefully raise questions and create more interest and curiosity than maybe provide you all the answers, right? But in context, it's about an 8-hour workshop that we're going to do in about 45 minutes. So a lot of insights. We're going to do 3 chapters out of the 9 chapters we have in what we call Building with Beer. So thank you for taking time out. And the third and most important thing is thank you for your business. Thank you for your business, your support of Miller Coors, your support of Miller Coors brands. We value every single tap handle. We value every single bottle of beer or can of beer you put across your operation. So thank you for that. Thank you. So what's going on in the industry, right? What's going on in the industry? A lot of people read trade magazines, read the press, right? What's going on in beer, right? For the last 5 years, the beer category is actually declining, right? The beer category is declining about 1 to 2%. 1 to 2%. And what's driving that, right? What's really driving that is per cap consumption, right? The number of beers you drink per year. And the reason why is really simple. It's twofold. First and foremost, spirits and wine have really gotten into the occasions that have normally been beer-centric occasions, right? When I grew up, I could go to a sports venue, and the only alcohol beverage offering I would have would be what? Today, I go to Cowboy Stadium, and I could buy a $100 glass of wine, right? Or a $15 cocktail, right? So wine and spirits have done a great job of encroaching on traditionally beer-centric occasions, right? Or beer drinking opportunities. Today, And then flavors, right? Flavors. I always like to tell people my daughter's 24, hates beer, right? Got her through college and she still hates beer, right? She likes flavors, right? Because when I grew up, I went to a C-store. If I wanted water, where did I go? The fountain, right? I went to the water fountain. Today I could get 300 different brands of water and different flavors of water. Or I could get, if I wanted a Coke, I got a Coke and a Diet Coke. And if that C-store was really wild, I got a vanilla or a cherry Coke. Today there's over 3,000 different SKUs and flavor offerings in a C-store. In a C-store. So think about that context, is that this generation, this 21 through 27 millennial generation, you've heard that word, right? The millennials, they're all about flavors and experimentation, and spirits have done a phenomenal job of participating with flavor innovation, right? Flavor innovation. The other side of it is we love craft beers. Miller Coors has the leading craft beers in the country with Blue Moon Brewing Company and Jacob Lonnekugel Brewing Company. But craft beers are changing the way people drink and the amount of beer they drink, right? It's a little bit harder to drink higher alcohol beers than it might be a Miller Lite, Coors Light, or Bud Light, right? Not as sessionable. One may be as filling as two. Higher alcohol, what else? Higher hops, right? A little bit more flavorful, but that kind of satiates you quick, right? That fills you up quick. So the ability to drink where you used to drink 3 to 4 beers per bowling event, right? Come in and have your league bowling, you're drinking 3 or 4 Miller Lite, Coors Light, but you may be drinking 1 or 2 crafts and then hopefully move into your American Light lager. So per cap consumption is down because they're offering the products are different. They have different attributes and you just can't consume the same amount. You just can't. Science doesn't allow you to do it, right? Science doesn't allow you to do it. How about your operations? What's going on, right? Retailers across the world, across this country, are really challenged, right? We all have got labor issues. We all have got the affordable health care, right? Also referred to as Obamacare. And we got significant cost of goods increases, especially in proteins and dairies, right? We got really big-time cost of increases. And that's making us figure out how to manage margins, how to manage our business when the declining traffic's declining. Why is traffic declining in the on-premise industry? Right? People got a heck of a lot more choices. Got a heck of a lot more at-home choices, right? And then they've got a lot of different entertainment choices. I always like to talk about the consumer wants to do multiple things with their entertainment dollars. So has anybody ever been to a thing called Top Golf? It's a driving range on steroids, right? It's a golf driving range that has a microchip in the golf ball, video games hitting the golf ball, and they have a 40% total alcohol beverage mix, right? That's pretty dang good. You got choices, right? Main Event plays in this space, right? I could go bowling, I could do laser tag, I could do the arcade, right? People are looking for multiple opportunities. Movie and food taverns, right? Movie and food tavern. I'm going out tonight for a movie. I got to pay for a babysitter. Boy, I'm going to go to the movie and I'm going to have dinner. As opposed to go to dinner, then go to the movie, then go home and pay more for my babysitter, right? So people are looking for multitasking opportunities, and they have a lot of opportunities at home. In-home entertainment, right? So they're spending more of their beer dollars versus the on-premise, more of the beer dollars at their grocery store, their liquor store, and coming home, enjoying entertainment in home. So those are the factors that are driving, decreased traffic, competition. Does that sound like a really simple articulation of what we see going on in the beer business? It's great. We're growing high-end beer. We're growing craft beer. We're selling less, right? We're selling less as an industry. So how do we do that, right? We got to get more people in the door through increased penetration or traffic. We've got to come up with smarter ideas to get people in the door, right? We've got to get them to be more loyal, right? Once they come visit with you once, boy, that customer, getting them back a second or a third time is just wonderful, isn't it? That's what makes your business, the repeat and the loyalty. And the last one is, how do we get more profit, right? How do we get more revenue that will flow through your margin? That's pretty simple, and that's what we're going to talk about, and that's what we call building with beer. How do we use beer as one of your segments to drive revenue, then margin, and hopefully, ultimately, guest satisfaction, right? Big satisfaction. So how do we do that? John introduced the official beer of bowling, right? But it's really about, we want to be your official beer partner. We want to be your category leader. We want to be able to generate ideas to grow the size and the value of your beer category. And we say that is that's how we grade ourselves in national accounts. So when we sit with our different customers, did you grow your total beer category? Because anybody could come in and talk to you and say, hey, I got this idea. I want to take this brand off, put this brand on, and all we're doing is moving dollars from brand A to brand B. Right? And who wins? The guy that got the tap, right? Do you win? Your dollar stayed the same, right? Your margins may have eroded because it might have been a higher cost product and we didn't take price. So think about our job to grow the size and the value. The size being the number of transactions, units, right? And the value of the business is about dollars, profit, margin. Right? So those are the solutions. Today we're going to focus on education training. We're going to talk about how building with beer could do that. We believe promotion and velocity. How do we create rate of sale? Right? How do we get people to drink more responsibly per occasion? Right? How do we get that second or third beer in a responsible manner? So building with beer, the Miller Coors advantage, right? Grow the size and value of the category. So Donna and Myron are going to take you through 3 or 4 chapters of our 8-hour discussion. 3 or 4 chapters of the 8-hour discussion. Again, very high level, planting seed, hopefully getting you to ask questions and be curious so that we could come back. And then I'll make one final challenge before I turn it over to Donna. Next year at the conference, I think we're in Vegas again, right? MGM, I believe, one of the MGM properties. Mandalay Bay, right? One of our good partners. The building with beer discussion with y'all, hopefully will be one of you standing up and sharing a testimonial, sharing your business. Here's what my challenge was last year with my beer category. Here's how I worked with Miller Coors. Here's how I worked with Myron. And here are the results. Because that will be a heck of a lot more impactful, right? Listen to me. Now, Donna's going to be a lot better, but listen to me. So the challenge, think about that. Next year, who's going to stand up and share their success story on how they took their beer category and grew the size and the value, right? Dollars and transactions. So, interesting challenge. And again, thank you for your business.
All right, John mentioned to you that we've got this program called Building with Beer. And it's designed to help you grow your revenue and grow your profits at your location. So anytime you're going to build something, who's the first person you call? Who's the first person you want to hire when you want to build something? You call a carpenter. So they called me, Donna Carpenter, to come in here to talk to you about how to build your beer business. And we've been partners with the BPA for several years. And what differentiates this program with us this year and what we've done in years past is years past, we have taken one brand and made that the showcase brand for all centers across the country. And it's changed over the years. What this program, Building with Beer, does is it brings the entire portfolio of Miller Coors to your table. And you can pick and choose the brands that you want to work with, that you need, that work best in your individual personal market, that aligns with the consumers that are walking into your center. Because a center in Manhattan, New York, is not the same center in Manhattan, Kansas. And that is the importance of Building with Beer, is understanding that. It is not a cookie-cutter approach to everything. This will give you some direction and guidance of how to look at your beer business, make some tweaks, do what you're doing right now, and maybe enhance it a little bit, and make more money work for you. look at the building with beer category, we're going to focus on 3 areas here. We're going to focus on understanding your customer. Who is walking into your center right now? Who do you want walking into your center? What type of beer drinker are they? And then 2, we're going to walk into understanding your business drivers and maybe taking a harder, more honest look at your business and in a different way that'll help you generate some new ways of growing profits for you. And then we're going to get to the meat and the potatoes. What's the opportunity for you? And a lot of this information that you're going to see is all on the BPA website, so you can walk out of this room, go to the website, and start tapping into these tools. So the first one is understanding your customer. Now, when we look at the beer category, beer class of trade, this is what we're seeing in general as to who is the bowler out there. Now, this may differ by your center, but in general, they're rather affluent families of $70,000 or more, 50-50 almost male to female, fairly young. 75% are under 50 years of age, and since I'm under 50 years of age, barely, I still like to say that's young. And then we're looking at Caucasian. But the important thing to look at right here, the bowling consumer is drinking 10.3 beers on average weekly outside of their home. How do we get them to drink all 10 of those, if not the majority of those, at your center? So you wonder, okay, who's walking in? Who is this light lager consumer? Because right now, there's a lot of buzz about craft. Craft this, craft that. But we can't lose focus to the premium light drinker. And that, when we talk premium light, that's an industry term. That's 3 brands: Miller Lite, Coors Light, and Bud Light. And whether we like it or not, those guys are the lion's share of the sales out there. You cannot ignore them. You cannot neglect them, because a simple 1% drop in premium light sales, you have to work your tail end off to make it up in craft brands. So work with the brands that are going to work for you and work easier for you. So who is this light lager, this light drinker who's coming in here? Well, guess what? They're very exclusive to their brand. They're very passionate about their brand. And when they find their brand on draft or in the right package form, they're going to stay at your location, and they're going to stay longer. They stay 19 minutes longer. That could be another game of bowling. They drink 1.2 more beers than the craft drinker because they're less filling. And they're 2 times more loyal to their brand than they are to any craft brand that's out there. If you don't have a Miller Lite at your location, if you don't have a Bud Light at your location, guess what? They may not say anything, but they may not come back the next time. And that's what the research says, is 55% of the time, the light consumer isn't going to come back to your location if you're not catering to their needs. So 23% are exclusive to light lagers, and they drive 23% of the volume. And they are more sensitive to prices. If you start jacking up your price on premium light brands, people get a little bit huffy on it. They know what they want to pay for their Miller Lite, and if you start charging $6 a beer, they're going to go, whoa, you're getting out of line. So they are more sensitive to pricing. Who's your craft consumer? Now take into consideration those 3 beers that we mentioned earlier, Miller Lite, Coors Light, Bud Light, they do about 60% of the business. Craft category, of all 4,500 craft brands out there, probably 5,000 this week, 8% of all beer sold. And who can tell me what's the number 1 selling craft beer out in the U.S.? I heard a couple Sam Adams. Blue Moon. Blue Moon is the number 1 selling craft beer, and it got to that way with no advertising. And despite the fact that it is the number 1 selling craft beer in the United States, doesn't even have a 1 market share. So you figure, of the top 5 craft breweries out there, you got Sam Adams as a brewery as a whole is the top craft. Then you've got Blue Moon. Then you've got Leinenkugel's, Sierra Nevada, and New Belgium, Fat Tire. Those 5 guys do about 65% of the craft business and is driving the majority of the growth. So Sam doesn't have a 1 share. Blue Moon doesn't have a 1 share of an 8%. So you've got about 4,400 other brands jockeying for about a 3% market share. So it's important when you play in the craft beer market that you play with the right crafts. And we'll talk about that, the right brands, and we'll talk about that. And there is a role for the local craft in your business. But only 7% of those beer drinkers are exclusive to the craft category. They start with a craft, but then they come back to a premium light. You can't sit there drinking a big old IPA all night long if you're going to be in a bowling center for 2 or 3 hours. You're probably going to have one, maybe two. So if you're looking for the brands that are going to drive more sales for you and velocity, you're going to want to play with your Miller Lights, Bud Lights, Coors Lights of the world. And when they're watching sports or playing sports, 26% of them want a premium light brand. So now we understand who is coming into your centers and what the beer drinkers are expecting or who the beer drinkers are. Next, we really want to understand your business. And we've taken this tool, and this tool is going to be on the BPA website, if it's not already on it right now. And this is one where you sit down and you really take an honest look at your business to monetize it. Because sometimes, depending who you talk to, you get different answers as far as of what's going on. You may relay this information to your bar manager, and they may be managing this business for you. But it's real simple. What is your total sales in your center? Then you ask yourself, what is my food and beverage? How much is food? How much is TAB, what we call total alcohol beverage? You put that in there, and then you put your percentages of what's beer, wine, and spirits. Now, on average, we see that a bowling center is anywhere from 75 to 85% beer sales. Maybe 2 or 3% is going to be your wine sales, and the rest, 10 to 12% is going to fall under spirits. But if you look at the amount of time and energy that you're putting into to try to promote spirits and try to promote wine, it typically over-indexes to the amount of time that you're putting into your beer sales. So this is available. And then on the bottom left, what is your growth goal? Have you ever asked yourself that? Or does it just grow organically with the rest of your growth? But truly ask yourself, what is your total alcohol beverage growth goal? And what this will do is spit out the type of revenue and dollars associated with the beer, the wine, and the spirits. So it's a good way to look at your business as you start to build with beer. And here's a great example. We start with this, and if I walked into your center today and I asked you what was the number one seller on beer that you have on tap, you may tell me, oh, it's Bud Light. But if I asked your director of operations, she may give me a different answer. And if I talk to the bartender, and depending when that bartender works, the day part and the day of the week, we may get a totally different answer from that person. What this next tool does for you is spells this out. So you guys are maximizing the sales and the velocity of each tap so you get the most out there. And I've heard a ton of times, well, we have to have that one brand because there's one league bowler that loves that brand. We got to have that. Well, that guy comes in and drinks 2 beers a week. Meanwhile, you still have 140 other servings that's sitting on that line going out of date that you have to find a home for. So what this next tool does, and this is something that Myron has and will work with you, as well as our distributors can work with you on. And again, it's sitting down and really taking a hard look at your business. And across the top in the yellow is what you're going to fill in. And it's what brands do you have on tap? How much are you paying per keg? What is that keg size? Are you going with a skinny? Are you going with a half barrel? Are you going with a quarter barrel? Be honest with that, because as you get into the smaller keg sizes, your price per ounce goes up. And this is going to come into play a little bit later in our discussion as well. What are you charging to your consumers? Do you have the right gap between a premium light and a craft and an import, which we'll talk about in a minute as well? And then it spits it out. And probably 9 out of 10 times, the story that we hear from the previous page, when I ask you what's your best seller, and we do this tool, and then the outcome spits this out. This is an actual location of ours. It shows us, guess what? They were telling us Bud Light was the number one seller. It is a strong seller, and it deserves to be on tap in this lineup. But there happens to be a Leinenkugel brand over here that's selling 15% of all your tap sales. Huh. Well, guess what? Number 2 is, what do we have? Blue Moon. Number 3 is Miller Lite. 4, Sam. When we asked the question, Bud Light, they kept saying is their number 1 seller, but it actually falls to number 3 or number 4. So what this also shows you is your opportunity. And it looks like the Newcastle brand is the brand that you may have the opportunity to replace with another either premium light or a local craft or something that's going to generate more sales for you on that tap.
Building with beer is all about building your category the right way, and that starts with premium lights. Premium lights drive the most occasions and command the most loyalty. Sometimes these powerful facts get lost in the shuffle. Here are 2 examples of retailers who saw the light.
We got wrapped up into the craft beer craze. We found that the consumer, although they love the crafts, they consumed less and our margins were less, and we saw different sales.
When that team, the sales team, came in and started really helping us break down and understand that here is the profit margins, here is the repeat traffic, here's what that guest is looking for as a whole. It really fit our guest.
It goes to show there's a time and a place for everything. It works 2 ways. You have a better volume and sales volume on the product, and you also have a better margin, which from the operative standpoint, that's magic. It's music to our ears.
The premium lights really allow us to do that. Coors Light, Miller Lite, and then you throw in the Bud Light, you can do more with them because the cost of them is not as high as maybe a craft beer.
And really, at the end of the day, there's more commonality, more times, and more places for the premium light category in the overall malt beverage spectrum.
I would say don't always fall in for the hype. Bottom line is, look at your sales track. It's hard to say that craft beers are this big movement if your sales aren't really there.
I hope that others in my position, my peers in the industry, kind of learn from their mistakes as well. Not really mistake, let's put that in quotes.
It's not just a logo or a mandate, it's a belief that this is right for your business.
So here's where we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of it all. And really, this is where we're going to start talking about the assortment, the pricing, and then the promotions on the brands.
Let's talk draft beer today. It's a huge part of your business, and getting it right, it's not always easy. It's a lot like drafting a football team, putting the players into the right places with one goal in mind, winning the big game. So how do you draft a winning lineup? Our team of beer scouts is here with your answers.
The extreme growth of craft beer is good for the consumer. Having choice, having lots of options, having room to explore and learn. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to forego the familiar. Light lagers are still a mainstay. It's that familiar brand that customers expect.
If you're putting together a team, you want to start with speed. In other words, the fastest selling beer you can get. So me, I'm picking premium lights first overall. There's just no better beer out there. People buy more of it, it keeps customers in chairs longer, and it dominates the occasions that you're providing.
You have to have these varied assortment of domestic lights. You know, in East Texas, where I'm from, you couldn't have a bar and not have Miller Lite on draft. People just wouldn't come.
The premium light beers are important because it's a go-to beer for many, many people. And then if you want to maybe suggest sell something a bit more flavoursome, maybe you go up to one of the Blue Moons, then you can start adding on, depending how many beers you want to go with some craft beers and other assortment of beers. And it's to make sure the experience overall is great for them, so that, most importantly, they come back time and time again to your bar.
So have a draft strategy that reflects this knowledge, reflects your consumers, and reflects the occasions that you provide. It's a proven winner, and that means profit. So use Miller Coors Revenue Tool to create your ideal assortment for drafting a smart lineup with workhorses like Coors Light and Miller Lite is just another step in building with beer.
So, like the speaker in the video talked about, you really want to start with speed. And the brands are going to turn for you faster, have more velocity for you. And when we look at what we call the beer journey. When a consumer starts drinking beer, where do they start from, and then what is their lifelong journey path that's there? And like a child, the child does not come out of the womb running. The child starts with crawling a little bit, pulling themselves up, starting to walk, and then run. And that is the same with beer. The majority of everybody starts in the premium light. And you look at that, those three beers drive over $4 billion in on-premise revenue. And then as we go into the invitation brands, really Blue Moon was the first one that invented this category. Because when I was starting to drink, you drank your Miller Lights of the world, and then somebody handed you some import brand that was hoppy or skunked or something, and you felt that's all there was out there. And Blue Moon and Sam Adams has really bridged that gap from the premium lights over there. So as people continue their beer journey, they like to take the baby step into the Leinenkugels, the Sam Adams of the world, and the Blue Moons of the world. And as you see there, that's the second largest category, where you've got about 700 SKUs, a small amount of them, that drive about $2 billion worth of revenue. Then we get into the exploration, and this is where you're getting into your higher gravity beers, your hoppier beers, a little bit more mysterious there. Heck of a lot of players play in this lot, but doesn't bring a whole heck of a lot of revenue to the on-premise business. And then, of course, you've got your experimentation. Those are the very, very niche-y, very unique, hard to get, hard to find, alcohol through the roof type thing, where you're probably going to try one and check off the box and said, I did it. I earned the badge for that. But you really want to be playing in the light lager place and in the invitational craft category for you. So if I were to ask you, I should kind of stole my thunder here by clicking too soon, but when I look at the craft category, if I would have asked you before I put this slide up there, where is the biggest growth percentage in the craft business? I can guarantee the majority of you guys would have said the IPAs, right? Who would have thought IPAs, you got to have an IPA, everybody has an IPA, we need 9 IPAs, it's all about the IPAs. Well, actually, while IPA is showing growth, it's really the seasonal beer. When a consumer goes in and tries the craft beer, they're trying a seasonal first. And that category is led by Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. It's the summer seasonal. If you do not have Leinenkugel Summer Shandy at your centers, I recommend sampling it. We should have it at our booth this week, and putting it on draft. It is a fabulous beer for the summer. The next category is your Vit beer, or your wheat beer. Again, very sessionable, very inviting, not too offensive in taste. That's led by Blue Moon. The last 4 weeks, Blue Moon has grown 16%. Last 4 weeks. It's 20-year anniversary of Blue Moon, and that brand continues to grow and grow and grow and give you guys a heck of a lot of success. And when people choose craft beers, they're looking for a brand. They're not looking necessarily for a style. So if you don't have Blue Moon and you have Jimmy Joe Bob's Bathtub Wheat on tap, and then your staff has to take the time and energy and say, well, it's like a Blue Moon. Well, it's best to have that leader, to have that signature brand, so have the Blue Moon. Then comes your IPA. And the growth is there. Blue Moon has just entered into a white IPA, which we'll have available at our trade show booth. Please come and sample it. It's delicious. I'm not a big IPA fan because for women, we are a little bit more sensitive to the bitterness. And this is a beautiful IPA with a new type of hop from Germany that kind of has an apricot finish to it, so it's delicious. And then come your ciders. Ciders are on fire. And there's really 2 ciders that are leading that category, Smith & Forge cider and then Angry Orchard. Smith & Forge is marketed towards men, tons of advertising on ESPN, great cider for it. But you start playing around and you see the brown ale, and in the model that we had earlier, we showed Newcastle was the lowest tap. Well, look, brown ales really aren't growing out there. So be aware of the style of beer that you have. Make sure that you have a good variety. And when you're playing in the craft beer section and you want to carry that local craft beer, my advice to you is go with the local craft leader. I live in Atlanta, that's Sweetwater. Sweetwater is going to do a lot of heavy lifting for you. In Kansas City, it's Boulevard. In Wisconsin, it's Spotted Cow. So start with your seasonal. When you go with your local craft, go with the leader. So when we look at the brands and what's out there, we really divide it into 3 sections. The core brands, those are going to be your Miller Lite, Bud Light, Coors Lights of the world, and some craft brands. And they're going to deliver for you the highest guest preference. It adds to your credibility that you're carrying the leading brands that are out there. It's going to drive retail revenue for you, profit, and these are the items that you want on your menu permanently. And with this, you can feature your price feature on the American Light Lagers. And we're going to get into how you price crafts in a second here. But you really want to play with the American Light Lagers. Then we have the new brands, and they're coming out all the time. And what you really want to do, what's the role of the new brand? It's to give you variety, is to give you incremental sale, but you really don't want to price feature these because these are going to be your bigger craft brands. And allow yourself to make that margin. Allow yourself to make the incremental revenue on these new brands. And then the tail. And like everybody says, don't go chasing the tail because it's not going to get you anywhere. There is a role for the tail brands. They're very low velocity. They're fun to have. It gives you true variety in your center, but it's really not something you want to have on draft. If one of these niche beers you really kind of want to put in a can or a bottle, make it available, but don't take up that precious real estate of a draft system to be having these low velocity brands for you. And they're least responsive to price feature. So when this report shows to us is on average the velocity that these tap handles are doing for you. And what I advise to you here is really a mix. I'm not saying have all this or have all that or don't do this or don't do that, but be conscientious of the brands that you put on tap and what that brand's output is going to be for you. You look at Premium Light. On average, about $2,600 a week, a Premium Light brand is going to bring to your tap. Then you have your invitational crafts, your Sam Adams, your Leinenkugels, your Blue Moons. Those guys come in second, and they're bringing in about $1,000 per tap per week for you. Then we drop down to your imports, $650, and then your exploratory craft or some of these local crafts that you have. Still bringing in some volume, but not as powerful as some of the others. So when you take this into consideration, this is a real-life example of a customer of mine that I worked with in the Southeast market area. And their current tap handle was they had Goose Island IPA, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and then Fat Tire. And they're like, these are great. Everybody knows these brands. They are strong brands. But this is what it was bringing to them. We did this building with beer. We did brand optimization and the tap handle survey. We said, you know what? Go with the Premium Light. Go with the leading invitational brand. And then go with something local that's strong for you. And that resulted in a Premium Light, a Blue Moon, and a Yingling. And the results of that was we increased their beer revenue about 3.5 times higher by just carrying the right brands on draft for this location. They still have the Goose Island and Sierra, but it's in the package form to make that expensive real estate on the tap work for them. So here's another key section that we mentioned we were talking about, pricing and price gaps. What we see a lot of the time is, some people may just take a one pricing approach to pricing out their beer. And what we found is that there's really 3 different approaches to take, and we advise you to put them all together when you're doing it. You have your cost approach. What are you paying for that tap or that keg of beer? And a craft is not a craft. And you have to be very careful of the prices that are out there. And then you have your consumer approach. What is your consumer willing to pay? And then ultimately, what's the competition? You really have to mix all of those together and come together with a pricing strategy. And what we see out there is, in general, the price gap between a Premium Light and an invitation craft like a Sam or a Blue Moon, the keg price is about 32% higher. It's about a 132 index between the two of them. But when we look at the prices that you're all offering, it's really about a 14%. This location, a lot of locations, and it's not just bowling, go into hotels, go into a lot of on-premise areas, they're charging 15% more for a brand that costs them 35% more. Then you start playing in your local craft, and those things can get expensive real quick. 68% higher cost than your Bud Lights, Miller Lights of the world. But guess what? The price is the same as you're charging for a Blue Moon. Or if it's a little bit more expensive, it's just a little bit more. So huge opportunity for you guys to make more money selling what you're already selling. And that is, you don't want to play around with your premium light brands. People know what they want to pay for their light beer, their domestic beer. You don't want to play around there. But where you can take the price increases on these craft and the imports, because people are willing to pay more. They expect to pay more. So you can take on, research shows about a 130 index or 30% price gap between domestic and craft and import when you're doing that. And it typically results in a $1 to $2 a difference, whether it's draft or whether it be craft brands. And a couple of weeks ago, I was out at retail in the Atlanta market, and I walked into an on-premise location, and they had a Bud Light, they had a Sweetwater, and they had some beer I had never heard of before. All three of them priced the same way. And I asked the manager, I said, what do you pay for each of these? He says, oh, we pay about $110 for Bud Light, and we're paying probably about $130, $40 for the Sweetwater. And I said, well, what about this one I never heard of? He goes, hold on, he gets the invoice. $250 for a half barrel, and he's charging the same price that he charged for his Bud Light. And just on that little system, we were able to show him to price accordingly. He called up about 3 weeks later. He goes, I can't thank you and your distributor enough to just showing me that. I'm so busy with a million other things I've got going here, just took my eye off the ball. So, and it's kind of taking a page from the wine list. You go into any place that has wine, they'll have 20 different wines, probably 15 different prices. But for some reason, we feel compelled to have one or two price structures in beer. Yet you guys are paying all over the playing field for beer prices. So just be very conscious of what you're paying and price accordingly. Craft breweries, they don't want to be seen as a Bud Light or a Miller Lite. They want you to charge more for them. We want you to charge more for them. So ultimately, so we've got the right brands out there. We've got this all priced right. So you know what? Let's start talking about promotions. How do we start getting this to work for you? Because we got the foundation set pretty good of having the right brands and the right pricing. And here's just a really quick way to think about it is, okay, I've got the right brands. Do I have them in the right package form? And the only brands that you should have duplicated in draft and in bottle are Miller Lite, Coors Light, and Bud Light. If you have a craft brand on draft, you don't need it in the bottle unless you have some sort of catering event that you don't have draft available for them, and vice versa. So, do you want cans? Do you want aluminum pints? Do you want bottles? Do you want draft? Where am I on my seasonals? Do I have any seasonals? Who have the best seasonals? And then cider. Is there a role for cider in your location? So think about that. Then over on the right side here is what type of marketing programs do you put together? You know, one program that we have is this beer tower. Has anybody done these beer towers? Seen these beer towers? These things work phenomenally well. It is a 100-ounce self-serve beer tower. Some states it's legal, some states it's not, so you have to check around. But where we have this in bowling centers, we're seeing a minimum of a 25% increase on Miller Lite and Coors Light Draft, where these are being featured. And what it does for you, especially on league night play, is it frees up your server of having to come with another pitcher of beer. These serve about 5 or 6 servings per tower. People love them. They see them down by the lane. They're like, hey, what's that? I want that. And it really helps generate the excitement around your draft sales. So looking at beer towers, beer and pizza leagues. They've been going on forever. We got away from them. Let's bring them back. They're very simple. That the first pizza and the first pitcher of beer is ready for them during league play. Is it St. Patrick's Day? Is it Final Four? Is it NASCAR? Is it baseball? Fall football is starting. We at Miller Coors have a extended list of college alliances and pro football teams and pro baseball teams that we can tie into. Chances are there's one in your market. And the beauty of college is that it doesn't have geographic boundaries. So if we're over here in Las Vegas and somebody wants to do a University of Alabama alumni program out here in Vegas because you have a big alumni group, that's one of our teams. We can sponsor it out here in Las Vegas. So, and then we talked about the self-serve units. But really look, I had the opportunity to go into one of the breakout sessions and see some of the best in class that different centers did for marketing programs out there. And there had to be 50 or 70 big posters and stuff. And I looked, and there's probably 2 or 3 that promoted beer. Your number one selling beverage that's out there. A lot of effort around liquor, a lot of effort around wine, but didn't see too many of them that were on beer. So a huge opportunity. Talk with Myron at the BPAA. Talk with your local Miller Coors distributors. They'd be happy to work with you to come up with ideas or point you in the right direction of things that you can do, maybe things that are new and innovative that you haven't tried in your centers lately. So in summary, who is your customer? Think, give yourself a good check on that. Who is your customer? What do they want from your establishment? Do you have the right brands for that person who's walking in? How do you make money? Take a look at it, and if you know, but your bartender doesn't know, or your director of operations doesn't know, this is a great tool to work with them to kind of get them thinking down that path. And then finding the solutions together. Assortment, pricing it right. Please price your craft and import brands higher than you do your domestics. And then the promotions. And again, these tools and several others are on the BPAA website, and you have access to Myron all the time, and you can call him up and say, hey, where do I find this? What about this? I was thinking about this. How can you help me? So speaking of Myron, I am going to bring Myron Myers up here, and he's really going to take you through taking this and making it come to life through the BPA website and through your alliance with them.
First of all, I'd like to start off by saying thank you to Donna Carpenter and John Harbach, who almost didn't hire me. My resume wasn't what they thought, and they gave me a chance, so I'd like to say thank you for that. Like Frank said, my job, I'm with Strike 10, and my job is to be the liaison between the centers, the distributor, Miller Coors, the proprietors, anything that you guys want or need. My job is to make sure that that happens. I know a lot of times you guys are not having that one-on-one with your distributor. Donna and I are a phone call away, and we make things happen. So the one thing that if you guys leave with all the abundance of information that you've gotten from John and Donna is after this, if you call me for anything. Just like Frank said, if you guys are having a problem, you guys need some beer, you guys need a banner or a poster, and you're having any kind of problems, call me. Call me if you don't remember what the Carpenter said and you guys want to know, call me. I'll call her and get that information for you guys. And before we get started, I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that John Harbach, it's his birthday today, and he's having a celebration today, you guys. So make sure you say happy birthday to John. Like Donna had talked, we have a national agreement we have a multi-year agreement with Miller Coors. So we're not here just for this year and then we're going to be gone. We're here for a couple years, and we want to make sure that whatever the needs that you guys have, that we're going to be able to take care of it. If it's not today, we will take care of that. Also, one of the other things is the program is designed. The portfolio is broader. We're not just focusing on Miller High Life right now. Before we've done that with the Miller High Life League, but now it's a broader portfolio. So it's all the portfolios that Miller Coors has, we're sharing that with you guys. All the brands. You're not just focused on Coors Light or Miller High Life. We're doing line and Kugels, Blue Moon White IPA, which is new. I don't know if you guys tried that, but that's delicious beer. So we're focusing on all of their portfolio. Through this program that we're launching, we're building on 3 platforms. It's the education and training, menu maker, and the seasonal brand promotions. And when we thought of this program, Donna and I and John, we were doing a lot of going back and forth and a lot of coding. I don't know if you guys know anything about coding, but Donna and I don't. And we were trying to code to make sure that this website was up and running and good for you guys. It's also in front of you guys on the brochure. So if you have that, you can follow along. You can look at that because that's a mirror image of the website that we have. And on that, this information's on there. It tells you exactly how to get to the website. It's www.bpaa.com/beer. My information is right there, so if you have any questions about today, anything that Donna said, John said, or any questions in general, you can call me, email me, you can text me. I'll answer to you. Part of the website is, like I said, we have 3 platforms. And the first one is education and training. We thought that this one was really important because as an owner, you want to make sure that you're educating your staff on the proper glassware, the proper pour. A quick story, we were in Florida and we went out to dinner and we asked the girl, we just sit down, we asked the girl about what's the new beer. And her response was, I don't know. Well, what do you suggest? Beer. So one of the things that you guys might want to watch is that if you're trying to upsell your beer and make that, and increase that tab, know what you're talking about. And one of the things, if you educate your staff on what beers you have on tap, or beers that you guys have, when someone comes in, they're able to suggest that beer, that high tier beer that you're paying $200 a barrel for, and they know what it is, and then they can trickle down from that, because that might not be the customer's needs. They might want something different, but the first point of contact is your servers, your bartenders. And if they don't know what they're talking about, then that person is just going to not enjoy their experience and they won't come there again, or they'll just settle for something that they've already had. So part of the education and training, we have 9 videos. Beer brand assortment, which is 80% of your guys' revenues right there. Knowing what you have on tap and having it there, like Donna had mentioned earlier, is important. And that's a video. All these are videos for you guys for yourself and for your staff. Doing the right promotions. You don't want to do a promotion on a Saturday night when your house is already packed. You want to do that something like on a Tuesday or Monday where you can draw foot traffic in. And cool thing about this is that it shows you the proper way to do promotion, but we also have POS, which is I'll get into later, that you can have hanging into your center, and people know, hey, you know what, I usually don't go there on Tuesday, but they're having a phenomenal Miller Coors promotion. Let me get there today. Or they're having great specials on bowling. Whatever it is, it's there, and we have the POS that you can have print out, or you can have your distributors print it and get it for you guys. One of the biggest things for us is the menu maker. For me, that I've seen, the biggest, heaviest mover so far is the menu maker. This is an enhancement to your guys' digital menus or your paper menus. We're able to, we have 4 templates right now that we're using, and you can take that and say, you know what, let me drop in my logo here. Let me drop in this logo over here. We have Miller Coors logo that's as well on the website that you can place as well. But we have our 4 templates, but if you have something that you like or something that you're already working with and you need help to enhance that, we have our IT people that's at the office that's willing to go over step by step with you guys and make your menu boards an enhancement. We all know that menu boards, I'm a very visual person, so anytime I look at a menu board, I have to see what it looks like. If it's something that's in print, then I'll read it, but more or less I'm looking at, the pictures. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They'll come in, they'll see something, and if you have it comboed together and you have the pictures and the beer or whatever it is that you want, they're going to sit there and say, give me that. The person that's standing, you want to release as less time as possible for people. Digital menu boards are vital and a great way of communication. That's why we have anytime, like I said, we have our templates, but if it's something that you guys want and you need, then let me know and we'll go over it. It may not be done in a week. Know that it takes a little bit longer, but we'll make sure that you have the digital menu board or your menu print so that you guys are happy and we're happy. seasonal brand promotions. This is one of the ones that Donna was talking about as well. We're pushing seasonal brands. We think it's really important that to keep you guys on top of mind with that, because if you, on this website, you guys can go there and see, Lion and Kugel's Summer Shandy, and know that this is what's in season now, or the Blue Moon White IPA. When you go to this seasonal board, it'll tell you what brands we're promoting and what brands are up there. Right now, like I said, it's the Blue Moon White IPA and Lion and Kugel's. Has anybody tried the Blue Moon White IPA? Did you like it? Okay, we have it here. We have it here for you guys to try. So stop at 168 booth tomorrow, and we have it there. But as you guys, it's pretty good. And what's important is you may not like something, but it's hot with your customers. And we're into making the money, and our customers are the ones that's paying for it. So we have to be aware of that. Customers are the ones who are paying the money. When you think of an IPA as well, you're thinking of something that's going to punch you. This doesn't do that. This is very sessionable. So when someone tastes, when they drink it, they're enjoying it. When your real IPA people are going to go out there, and if it doesn't punch them, they don't want it. But you as a bar owner, bar manager, you want something that's sessionable, something that they're going to continue to drink. If they drink it one time and they get up and leave, then that's only one beer you're selling. But with something that's sessionable, they'll stay. And as you guys can tell, like I said, with this, anytime that you engage in any part of the website, you're going to be prompted to fill out an entry form, which is on the first one, we're going to send you guys out a gift bucket, Miller Coors gift bucket of your choice. It's Blue Moon, Lion and Kugel's, Miller Lite, or Coors Light. And then we're going to automatically enter you into a grand prize drawing. Part of the seasonal brand as well is that we have POS there. So, like I said, if you're doing a promotion and you need a banner and you need it right there, you can look on this website and push. It'll allow you to click that, and then you can download it yourself and print it, or you can download it, and when your sales rep come in, you can say, hey, you know what? I need this banner. Could you please help me out and get that banner? And if your sales rep doesn't answer, then call me, because we'll get that banner to you guys one way or another. I got to print it out myself. Call me. We'll get that taken care of. And once again, on this one, once you enter, you get that one gift bucket, but you get entered into the grand prize drawing. And the grand prize drawing is one lucky proprietor at the end of the year will be able to experience for himself and a guest NASCAR race with Brad. You can meet and greet with him, and country music with Luke Bryant. Yep. So if you like Luke or Jason,
you get to choose one of these prizes. You don't get all.
Yeah, it's only one. Tailgate. If you like college football or NFL tailgate experience, we're going to give you VIP tickets. We're going to get you your jersey. We're going to make sure that you have fun at one of your favorite football games, and also the cruise. The cruise is really fun. You get sweets over there. You get a little pocket change, and you're having fun with the person you want to go with. So pick the person you want to go with wisely, because you're going to be in water. And one last thing that I wanted to add, Miller Coors is putting so much into national advertising that they recognize and they know that bowling industry is where a lot of people are spending their time. And they're making sure that the nation knows that, and that their partnership with BPAA is here. So I wanted to show you guys a few clips of their national advertising.
I am Rich. On the grounds of my estate, I hobnob with the glitterati and play equestrian sports. Out on the veranda, we enjoy finger sandwiches and other assorted dainties. I wear nothing less than the finest designer footwear. Wherever I go, the paparazzi capture my every move. Yes, I am rich. That's why I drink the champagne of beers.
They tell you it's out there, somewhere, upon a star, over a rainbow, through the woods, down a road less traveled, where the grass is greener, life is a dream, and everyone's happily ever after. But it's not on a map or some app. It's not success or excess. It's not someday or somehow. It's wherever you are. Whatever is true. Here and now. When you are you.
So tomorrow, if you guys have some time, make sure you stop at the Strike 10, which is booth 180, Miller Coors, which is 168, and try some Blue Moon White IPAs. Delicious. But before we go, John Beck.
We got a couple minutes, and when I was opening up, I was supposed to do something, and I missed an assignment. Donna reminded me. I want to introduce Matt Dykstra. Matt is our senior director. Wave, Matt. Senior director of the Travel Leisure Group, works with Donna. Matt's been in the beer business a good time. Great Kansas City guy. Wonderful to have you on the team. Donna, Myron, awesome job, right?
Thank you.
Awesome job. So a couple minutes. And what do we want to do with this information, right? So I'm going to have 3 asks, right? You probably say bullshit, right? But we're kind of committed to the industry. We're committed to growing the size. Just 3 things to think about on your flight back or when you get back to your centers, right? Do we understand our current assortment on our draft handles? I don't care if you have 2, 36, or 134 like Yard House, right? Do we have a really clear understanding of what we're trying to do and how much money we make on each one of those handles, right? Anybody else in real estate besides running bowling centers, right? You want to build, when you take that piece of real estate, what do you want to do with each? Maximize the value of that real estate, right? That's what your tap handles are. Limited real estate, maximize. So go back, take a look at your assortment. Pricing, right? I can't tell you the number of times we've done pricing assessment for people, right? We had a customer that has 777 restaurants and couldn't figure out why their beer margins were decreasing, right? They had 2 POS keys. When I grew up in the business 25 years ago, we had 2 cake prices basically, right? Today, how many different cake prices do you have? Do you think 2-tier pricing is going to keep you at your optimal margin that you want to run the beer category at? Heck no. So look back at it. And the other thing is, the number 7 decision factor for a consumer when they pick a craft or import beer is price. Right? So price has very little influence. They're okay with paying full price, right? Unfortunately, what we've done with premium lights is train the consumer to buy them on deal, on special. So anybody look at the food day on Wednesday, Saturday in your newspaper? 88% of the time when we sell Miller Lite, Coors Light, or Bud Light in a grocery store at a Walmart, guess what? It's on deal, right? And you're going to buy a 12-pack one week, the next week you get an 18, next week you buy a case or a 30-pack, right? We've trained the consumer to buy our brands, unfortunately, on premium lights, on price. Don't do that in the on-premise business. We got an opportunity to sell our beers. We want you to feature premium lights, American Light. We want you to feature crafts and imports. You don't have to price feature crafts and imports, right? Feature the craft of the week. Feature the craft, but sell it at full price because the consumer is willing to do that, right? I guarantee if you go back and look at it, you're going to find a couple points of margin and opportunity, right? As long as you're competitive and you're rational, right? As long as we're competitive and rational. So that's 3. And then lastly, Myron and Donna. Great team. Hey, we've trained 50% of our distributors on building with beer. So that means 50% of them, if you go back and your distributor hasn't been trained on, you say, hey, I heard this kind of interesting about building with beer. It's about growing the size and value of my beer category. 50% of the distributors are going to go, yeah, what do we want to talk about, right? And 50% are, boy, I know about the program, but I haven't been fully engaged in trade, right? So that's where Myron will be critical. Okay, so give us a chance to get up to speed. We didn't want to wait to get the whole system trained, all 600 distributors, because we think there's enough business building ideas to add value to your category.
That's not been mentioned here, of how many ounces in a keg of beer that the people know, and divide that cost and figure out how much an ounce of beer is in your draft. And I've done that all my life. And when you talked about the difference in the change in prices, you have a chart. You know how to price your draft beer because you know how much it is an ounce.
Beautiful. Right? Did you see that in the cake generator, right? The cake monetizing, right? Price per ounce is critical, right? Especially if you want to set a margin that's acceptable to you, right? Great.
Yeah, all that's done for you in that tool. You drop down, are you buying a full half barrel? Is it a Euro keg? And it gives you all that equivalent and breaks it out for you.
1,984 ounces, and if you do a beautiful 2 ounce, I'll send somebody a Miller Lite or Coors Light prize if you do a beautiful 2 ounce foam collar on a 16 ounce serving. How many yields do you get out of that 1,984 keg? 16 ounce, 2 ounces. You get 124 without, right? You get 124 without just filling to the top, right? You get 144, I believe is the right math. 144, 148, 1 and 2. But whoever gets that right, find me. Just give me your card and we'll give you a little something. Isn't that cool? So when you talk about the importance of that foam collar, right? You just got 20 more servings at $3, $4, $5. That's pretty cool to know, right?
If anybody has any questions, come on up and ask us. We'll be here for a little bit. So thank you very much.